Yo, what's up, YouTube? I probably said what's up, YouTube like 6 times today, which is insane. But welcome again to this installment of our tier list guide for Gods Unchained. Today we're doing the welcome set cards for nature. Yeah, overall, I think nature has a pretty good welcome set in my opinion. There are some bad cards, but there are a lot of good cards. I'm also going to be doing this guide from the lens of a free-to-play player, because most free-to-play players will be using cards from the welcome set anyways. But yeah, let's go over the key real quick. So, oops, I'm showing you stuff from the next video. Key is S, very powerful. A is consistently good. B is splashable. C has some potential. D is weak. F is hot garbage. The reason why I'm not using the tier list maker website for these videos is because it takes a lot of work to individually get photos of every card and then make the tier list, because there are no tier lists for Gods Unchained, unfortunately. So we're just going to have to do it with good old Google. But that should be fun, right? We should be okay. But anyways, without further ado, let's get started. First up, we have Best Friends. Aw, Best Friends. We have a 1 mana spell, summon a confused 2/1 eagle. Then if you have at least 3 creatures, summon a confused 1/2 badger. I think this is good. It's a 1/1 for 3/3. Conditionally, of course, you need 2 minions on the board. However, there are a lot of synergies with nature, at least, that work with wide boards like Wildfire, Firewine, Wildroot Staff, which we'll review later. So there's a lot of use case for this card. I give it an A because it's good. This synergizes with, it's conditional 3/3, but it more so than not, you'll be able to proc its effect. Okay, so I'm making a change to my tier list right now. I'm actually giving Untamed Growth an A. Originally, I wanted to give it an S tier, which is very powerful because you get to refresh 4 mana. But after thinking about it for a bit, yes, you will be able to refill your mana and play an additional card. But when I think of nature as a class, nature lacks draw. Like, it's very hard. I don't think there are any nature cards that draw you a card, really. There are nature cards that help you generate cards, but you generate them at random. So with that being said, this card effectively has you burn your hand, right? So you'll be playing a card, and then you'll be playing Untamed Growth. You confuse the board, and then you get to play another card. Essentially, you're playing 3 cards at minimum when you play this card. And if your opponent somehow manages to deal with the board that you set up, you're left with a lot of you're not left with a lot of resources to follow up with. And in decks that have a way to draw cards from their deck, I would give this card an S tier rating. But because nature class doesn't really have a way to refill their hand effectively, I'm not going to give this an S like I had originally planned. So I'm giving it an A. That's why I think this is borderline SA, but yeah, the fact that the nature class doesn't have a way to refill their hand reliably, at least, I'm going to turn this into an A tier card. Next up, we have Aspect of the Axolotl. Axolotls are very cute. If you ever Google them, feel free to. I think they're awesome. But I gave this a C. It's a 3 mana spell, give regen to the target creature, 6 regen at the 6 regen, to be specific. I think this card can be good when you use it on a card with at least 7 health. Maybe the bigger the minion, the more effective the regen will be. Of course, if you play this card on curve, on turn 3, on a weaker minion, I mean, at best, you can probably do this on a Pyramid Warden, but if you're a free-to-play player, you probably won't have a Pyramid Warden. Probably. But yeah, so at best you could probably use this on a card like Skeleton Heavy. If you play this card on curve, it gets better later on, but I don't know. I think it has potential, but overall, like, I wouldn't. This wouldn't be my first choice to include in a deck, in my opinion. Next up, we have Jump On. Jump On got a B. Very splashable card, in my opinion. 4 mana spell, gives 3 strength and overkill to one of your creatures. It's pretty decent. The only thing is it doesn't give like a buff to health, which I would give it a higher. I would give it a higher grade if it did. But I could see this used as like a pseudo finisher if you don't feel like using Fire Wine or Wildfire. Next up, we have Escape Silverback. This card gets a D. It's a 5 mana roar. Deal 1 damage to an enemy creature randomly. And it has 5 strength and 4 health. If you've watched the other guides on the channel, which you should probably do, you know how I feel about 5 mana minions with 4 health. I think it's really inefficient and it trades horribly with other 2 mana cards like Canopy Barrage or Star Shard Bolt. Also, it doesn't warrant. Also, the stat line doesn't warrant. The effect doesn't warrant the stat line. You deal 1 damage randomly, which is kind of useless in my opinion. Yeah, you might high roll, but if your opponent is, I don't know. Yeah, it's just not a good card. So that's why I gave it a D, which is weak. Next up is Wildroot Staff. I gave this card a C. It's a 5 mana relic. 1 strength, 2 durability. After you attack with this relic, give 1/1 to each of your creatures. I actually used this card when I was a free-to-play player. And it got me pretty far. The only thing that it would be so much better if it had Blitz, right? Because you could just play this card and then attack and then proc the buffs with hopefully your field full of minions. If you play the Bladefly card, which is a 4 mana 2/2 that summons 2 copies of itself, and then in conjunction with this card, there's a lot of synergy there. It's also very synergistic with Best Friends. The God Power that summons Confuse 1/2. Generally speaking, nature cards are very good at creating wide boards or big boards, depending on like the style of deck you want to play. Wildroot Staff obviously helps the wide boards. I would give this a higher grade if it had Blitz, but it doesn't have Blitz. So you're essentially wasting a turn to play the card and then give your opponent a chance to like deal with the board that you have already. And then from there, like, then you can attack. But I don't know. But I like it. Like, I think giving 1/1 to a board full of creatures can be a very powerful effect, especially in a class like Nature. And that's why I'm giving it a C, because it has some potential. It's just pretty slow for a card. Cool. Next up, we have Charging Oryx. This is the last card that we're going to be doing for the Nature class. 7 mana, 7/7, Roar. This creature attacks a random valid character. I like it personally. It serves as a finisher. It can kind of be like, if you play Hearthstone, it can kind of serve as like that Leroy Jenkins finisher card where you play this in hopes that it attacks your character's face and you win the game because it deals 7 damage for burst. Pretty good card because it also attacks right away. And it's a big body, which means it'll usually trade favorably with whatever minion or character your opponent has. And it's a pretty good card for tempo. I mean, obviously 7 mana isn't ideal because you're waiting at most 8 turns to play the card, so it can feel bad. But I mean, honestly, it's a pretty decent stat line and a pretty decent effect, which is why I gave it an A. Which is it's a good card. I would include it in the deck. I don't know if I'd include 2 of it, but if you're running like, it goes well in either an aggro nature deck, a mid-range nature deck, or even a control nature deck. It's just a solid card. I could totally. That's why I'm giving it an A. Cool. Overall, I think the nature cards, especially from the welcome set, are very decent in my opinion. Nature is one of the best classes you can use as a free-to-play player, in my opinion. It's just a lot of great cards available, especially in the core set, and the welcome set gives you a lot of viable cards as well. yeah, overall, solid class. Man, I'm losing my voice. This is crazy. I'm like 5 videos deep now today, and I mean, obviously it's because I'm dividing like each class into one video, but it's been a lot of talking. But I hope you guys enjoy the content. If you like the video and you would like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. Always helps me out. But yeah, hope this helps y'all. Have a great day.